Hello and welcome to On the Mark Financial Literacy with Mark Zinman. We have Alicia with us today as well as Mark. We also are so excited to have two guests with us today from Apex Benefit Group. We have Rudy, who is the founder of the organization, as well as Mara, who is the next generation of ownership. And to that end, we're going to be talking about that subject today, which is multi-generation ownership of a small business. Welcome.
Yes, welcome. It's great to have somebody other than Monica and
Well, thank you for having us. We're excited to be here.
Thank you. So I want to start, if I can, by just trying to understand the story of how you, we have a lot of entrepreneurs as listeners and clients, so just tell me a little bit about your background, Rudy, and then how you decided to maybe start your business.
Sure. I was always sort of self-employed, whether it was newspapers or selling things or creating work on our own. We'd have landscaping businesses, we'd have painting businesses in the wintertime. So I got used to sort of working for myself, having the flexibility of time and also the opportunity to grow whatever I wanted to grow into. So it was sort of a natural fit for me when I started to get into deciding whether or not I wanted to be business owner or an employee. But it was actually my wife that got me started in the insurance world, which I thought I was going for a job as a marketing director or marketing somewhere in marketing, whether it's advertising, commercials, or just ideas. And the next thing you know, I was in front of an interview where I was signing up to sell benefits or in life insurance through Prudential, which yes, it's a marketing position, but it was sort of an insurance agent's job. And when I listened to the things that the insurance industry did, I had my predetermined opinions on it prior to getting involved. But when I started listening to all the good things that an insurance practice can do, if you're able to communicate to families the need to properly prepare, and if they're having children, that the importance of the life insurance and the importance of the planning, it started to make sense. And I knew that I was somebody that was good enough to in communication where I could make things a little simpler that were a lot of times complex for folks to understand. So it was really a natural fit. It was just, do I want to grow this business? And from them, I started expanding more and more into working. I love working with business owners. That's primarily our function. We do a lot of administrative benefits, whether it's FSAs or whether it is regular medical or dental. But it just gave me the opportunity to expand and work with business owners and try to help them, because the small business owner has so many different choices. And if they can come to one source, whether it's an accounting firm or an HR firm, or whether it's an insurance firm, if they can feel comfortable and they can feel like they are in the right hands, that's what makes me feel good. And a lot of times I look at it as we do a lot of executive benefits, and that gets into the planning for their future. And if I can just try to sum it up in a question, in a one scene, is we're trying to create a family office for these individuals or for the businesses, because a family office where I know that I could count on you for accounting work and I can count on you for HR work, and the tax advisors that I bring in or the attorneys that we bring in to complete the process, whether it's for operating agreements or the buy-sells, are they properly funded, or what structure should it be, it makes me feel good. And we have a circle that we've built over the last 35 years of quite a few very, very, very not only competent advisors, but creative ones as well. And so that's what we try to do. We don't want to replace anybody's advisors. If they have advisors they work with, we many times will communicate with them, because if we're not communicating with them, there's no synergy in having the proper transfer of things and the proper planning going on.
All right. And to put it, when did you start your company? What year?
We started in 1988 was the first initial insurance agent interview, which was quote-unquote marketing. But we went out on our own in 1996. And I started with an Allstate agency in the beginning, and then we formed a corporation, and then we wanted to branch out. Allstate is more personal lines, and I like to work with businesses quite a bit, so I was missing that. So we started to get involved into the group and the benefit world.
How many people are in your organization currently?
We have, administratively, we have 5 leadership roles, and then we have agents that are on like a 1099. So the leadership team is what controls everything, but what happens is we really have employees that we don't even have in our own office. For example, Blue Cross gives us people that we have that are at our fingertips. You know, Aetna does the same, Cigna does the same. So it's really, we're just making sure that those employees of those carriers are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and really in a way is oversight.
So just to talk about Apex for a second. So you do commercial insurance?
Commercial insurance we don't do.
Okay.
I'm licensed with commercial, but no.
Okay, so you're basically doing benefits, health insurance,
Yes.
key man.
Key man policy, that's part of the executive benefit scenario, but we'll do the medical, the dental, the vision. We'll do any of the ancillary that they might want, group disability, group life insurance, and then the voluntary, which is not an employer paid. It's the employees have a choice whether or not they want to purchase something voluntary, as well as the FSAs and the commuter benefits. And one of the really big ones that a lot of small businesses, I don't see them having, is dependent care coverage. I mean, these days you can have quite a bit of a tax savings, and in 26 it's going up to about $7,500 as a write-off for dependent care FSA, and you can use that in conjunction with your regular FSA. So,
I am a big proponent of our clients offering a cafeteria plan to their
Yes.
employees. And when we talk about a cafeteria plan, it's called a cafeteria plan because it has a menu.
Yeah.
Right? It could be pre-tax, just some of the things, pre-tax health insurance, dependent care. It could be a flexible spending account.
tuition reimbursements, all of those. And tuition reimbursements, I'd like to see them get a little bit better with that. I think they currently allow like a $5,200 for reimbursement, which reimbursement is much different than pre-saving for a college, right. So there are differences.
So, Mara, let's hear about your path of how I know you're now part of the leadership team at Apex, but
Yes.
you weren't born that way, so give us a little bit of a background of yourself.
So after graduating from college, I went to Ursinus. Pretty much the day after, I think you asked me, hey, are you interested in jumping on some phone calls? Psychology and art. So I started out pre-med.
Well, psychology is probably really good for your business.
Yes, but not majoring in insurance or anything like that. But I pretty much got started right away before I found a career that I was looking for. And so I hopped on the phone, started calling businesses, started helping with the marketing, business cards, marketing materials, and then I veered away. And once I did find a role that I thought that I would enjoy, doing marketing for a dental management company. But I always found myself being pulled back in, visiting family, talking with Rudy about insurance, and I think I always stayed in the loop, understood to a certain degree what was going on with the business and company, and I started to think long term what I was looking to do, what I wanted financially. I've always had that entrepreneurial mindset of wanting to own something of my own. So then I kind of got reined back in part-time when I was living out in California and wanted to start building a client base out there. But then I became full-time 3 years ago, officially.
What I like about your story is that you had a father who was in a business, but you took the path of trying something else first to know what something else looked like rather than just feeling you had to fall into the family business.
Yes.
It follows a little bit of my story. My father was a CPA and he had his own practice, but I helped him out while I was in college, but I didn't want to work for him until I went somewhere else. I never ended up working for him because he retired before I was ready, and so we never actually worked together, but I like that part. I think it's important that somebody who's going to come in a family business maybe can go out and bring other experiences that they may have gotten in the alternative world, as well as the fact that you don't feel like you settled. You feel like this was the best choice for you because you already knew what was out there.
Right.
Okay.
No.
And obviously it sounds like you like your dad.
I was just about to say, I mean, there was never any pressure at all. It was, are you interested in this type of a path? And I remember one night, it was probably like 10 p.m., Alex and I, Alex is a very critical part of Apex. Yes, okay. My younger sister. So we were in the kitchen, and it was just her and I, and we were like, do we want to do this? Like, is this something that we could really make a great legacy, not only for what's going on currently with our parents, but then eventually when they want to retire, do we want to continue that on? And we were both like, yeah, let's do this. I think, and then so we brought the idea, I think we said it verbally to our parents that we are interested in being involved. And she was already working at Apex, but I was part-time, and yeah.
So my own story is like I have 3 children, and I always told maybe the same story for you, Rudy. I told my children, like, you're welcome to become accountants and want to work as an accountant at my firm, but I want you to be happy, so do what you want. So all 3 of my children, none came into accounting. My daughter was a company manager in New York and eventually on Broadway, and then COVID came, and she didn't have a job, so she came to work here, and I guess 4 years later, she always had helped us out every once in a while, but now she's been here full time, so it's great to have a family member there.
Yeah, and also we've had so many late night conversations. I feel like we're both passionate about Apex. Obviously, you've been in it for a lot longer than I have, but late night, I mean, that's when really big ideas for us have come about, even during the day, of course, but and we've just been able to dream about what we want for the company and what his ideas are, but then we'll get into the nitty-gritty specifics and he'll start training me on things, and it happens all the time. Versus, I think Ingrid and Alex, they're like 5-6 p.m. We're done. We're not going to talk about work anymore. Yes.
It takes off. And Rudy, how long have you done this, and how much longer do you want to do?
So I've been in the insurance world since 1988. So I don't see myself retiring next year or the year after. I see myself sort of slowly drifting out. Like Mata said, I can't find that many people that want to talk about insurance and benefits at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, but Mata's always interested. And although, Ingrid and Alex will always... Ingrid happens to be my wife. Okay, she's also a partner, 50% partner. But they do work past the 5-6 o'clock whenever is needed and quite consistently, but I don't think they get out of it what Mata and I do when we talk about it. It's like this and this, and we're willing to do it at 7 and 8, and it's not bothering us, where it's like, can we, I might hear from the others, like, can we turn this off now? So
let me ask you a question. Having a child, or 2 children in the case of Alex as well, working, is there any ground rules that you have to set up? Is there any like, at this point I'm dad, at this point I'm your partner or boss, or, explain to me how that ground rules were set up.
Yeah, so it's interesting because we really didn't need to set too many of them up. I think that they both were at other employers for a while. So it wasn't like there was anything that they needed to be trained. This is your first job. This is the way you treat an employer. This is the way you treat and, sort of behave at a job. So it was almost like it was a natural fit in. We didn't really have to say things. Every once in a while, we'll even joke. I mean, if something does seem like it's coming out personal, I think the best thing to do is just be transparent and say, like, doesn't that sound like, just to sort of push off a little bit, like, hey, maybe we talk about that later. But for the most part.
So my next thing is clients who talk to me and myself, the first thing is like the first thing you do is like, how am I going to have a business and how am I going to run it? And the second thing is, how am I going to get out of it? Okay, yeah. So because and obviously, you're a guest today and we're going to talk about it because you guys have a plan, but there are so many small business owners who just don't have a plan because they don't want to think about it.
Right.
And so I would encourage, and I'm sure you would agree with me, even if you don't have family members in there, especially businesses that are service-oriented where you're part of the production, which pays those employees who may not be family members, that
Right.
you have responsibility to them to maybe have a plan in case something happens to you.
Yeah.
But in your case, thankfully, nothing's happened to you, and you're able to maybe
Yeah.
do it on your own terms. So tell me how you approach the topic with Mara about becoming an owner, or how the succession if something happened to you.
Sure. With us, again, for me, like every day in the workflow, we're having these conversations with clients. So when it happened with our own family and they started to come into the business, my thrust was always to have either a key person, because that was meaningful to me. It didn't need to be family members. And when family members actually started to come in, I was thrilled, and they told us, hey, we have an interest in this. We have an interest to grow this and take it over. So all of a sudden, a key person became the family members, and currently still has been after 7 years, and you a little bit more than 10 with a part, full-time, maybe not as long. But so I'm thrilled that we can pass this along to family members that are both interested and capable of taking it over, as well as treating key employees in the same feeling as you and I had a conversation prior to the podcast, is you treat everybody like family, really. And we have the same concept with our clients. We would do for them as much as we would do for our
I often have a thing saying, if you were my brother or my sister, this is what I advise you to do.
Exactly,
and that sounds very similar. And knowing you,
Yeah.
and I know that you're not going to be working on Friday and retired on Monday. You're going to start, maybe hope to slow down.
Yeah.
What is your current plan, and how did you start to address, maybe with Alex and with Mara, the financial aspect of that?
So our plan currently is to ease out easy, and to stay on certainly as long as the new generation wants us to. I have a certain book of business where clients still like to communicate with me, so I don't see myself ever really going away from that, because, and you could probably attest to this too, is after you've had a client for 20 plus years, they're your friends and you really get along with them, and there's a reason why you're together for over.
The service we're in with, it's personal service.
Yeah, it's personal service.
You know everything about their life.
Yeah, I mean, quite a bit.
Not only insurance.
Yeah, no, quite a bit. And we have many family-owned businesses that are our clients, and there are spouses and children and 3 different siblings and everything. So things are like that in our everyday world. When it came to Mara and Alex stepping in, we knew then what we would do is set up some kind of a plan for making it easy for them to purchase the business, as well as us being able to maintain our little client base so that we can continue an earn-out or a continuation of payments after retirement as well.
Now, is your wife still active in the business?
She is.
Okay, so
She is.
I'm going to ask you this, Mara. If something happened to Dad tomorrow, feel you're comfortable taking over, or what? So I understand this. We're hoping to be a process, but then one of the questions I want to know is I always say this to clients: you get hit by a bus when you walk out of my office. Does your will? So we're not talking about your will. We're just talking about the succession of your business. So, where are you in that feeling of how much time you have versus the abruptness of it?
Yeah. So ideally, I would love to work with him until, he doesn't want to anymore, whether that's 10, 15, 20 years down the road. But, if something...
You guys can retire together.
Yeah. Well, haven't heard that idea.
No, that's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, I have already been introduced to a lot of clients. I've kind of been thrown into some meetings I may not have been or assumed that I would be on, and it was great to be on those calls because now they already have that familiarity with me. So I haven't met all of his clients. I do have my own, book of business that I've been generating and building. But if something were to happen, I would be picking up the phone.
And you feel comfortable that the business would be able to stay with you just because of the reputation of you?
Yes, yeah, helps to have the same last name, yeah.
Helps.
No, he has built such a credible reputation with all of the clients, and they're huge shoes to fill. But being with him on a lot of these calls, I feel like I have catapulted to the next level where, he had to learn everything from scratch. I'm coming in, I already have that advisement from him and have been able to learn so much already that I do feel really comfortable with a lot of the conversations that
Is my understanding, I'm just going to throw it out here. So the retirement plan is an earn-out. So basically, you get commissions for the products you sell for the most part.
Yeah.
And so you're going to just divide that up as a certain percentage, and then maybe it would become a higher percentage to the Apex as you go and a lower percentage to you as you step back? Or how?
Oh, certainly. Again, my kids are my beneficiaries and grandkids. So ultimately, we're looking to build up something that can sustain all of the leadership team, not just family, but when it comes to it, that's what's in play right now.
So I guess one of the things that I dealt with is, most people know my story, is that I have sold my practice to 3 of my key people, and they're going to have an earn out. But the biggest thing with me is, am I being fair? Like I was like I picked a number, I picked the formula, I picked something, and then I the first year I was like, I want to make sure it exactly works out the way I thought it would as far as being fair for them and us. Is that something that comes into your thought?
Yeah, it does. With the service, sector that I'm in, it's usually a multiple of earnings that they go by. So really the largest asset is your book of business and the earning capability. We don't have tractors and dump trucks and everything else as far as assets to try to get valuations on. It's pretty much what comes in from the book of business. Obviously there's more value to that information that is sort of intellectual information that is something that I'm trying to pass on as quickly as I can to Mata. And as she mentioned, I bring her into all of the appointments that I'm privy to with all the leadership teams. So even if it's there taking notes and being my support staff, she's listening, she's paying, and she knows then sort of the demeanor on how to speak to a client politely, respect, you have to listen to them. It was somewhat natural with Mata, so it's a pleasure to work with Mata on my team. Really is.
You mentioned that you have like a leadership team of 5 people,
Yep.
and me being the wonderful accountant I am, can
Yep.
go Rudy, Amara, Alex, that's 3. How do the other 2 feel about what's going on?
So, we will be fair. I don't 100% know internally what they feel in every single emotion.
Is it an open discussion now?
But it can be. It currently hasn't been, but it can be. And we certainly have intentions to make sure that if people have worked with us for many, many years, that they will also be taken care of at retirement. And that is the goal, always has been, even for new employees, whether they're seasoned employees, new employees, or family members. We want the best for every single person.
So your opinion is that everybody should have a path to a career, not a job? Is that sort of how your opinion
Sort
is?
of,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
how I feel. Well,
Yeah, I mean, I
like you don't hire any, when you
Yeah.
bring somebody on, you expect them to be there for the rest of your career.
Yeah, and sometimes I scare them because I'll be thinking so far ahead that they're overwhelmed. And
a date, on your second date, when we get married.
yeah. How many? When we have 3 children, their names. No,
I also
agree.
think Alex and I can be a little outspoken, and we are very driven. So when we have ideas, we are definitely the ones to approach Rudy and Ingrid with what we're thinking and what our plans are. And we definitely have to have more conversations, but it has been very open. I mean, his door is always physically and figuratively open.
And it's probably a compliment to you that you not only want this to happen, but you're willing to let it happen, because that's two different things. Like wanting to do it and letting it happen, and especially when it's your children, we tend to view them as that same 3-year-old little girl who did dancing, or boy or whatever.
Yeah.
So my next question is, you're more sales and marketing, and Alex is more back office. Is that how I understand it?
Yeah, so client relationships, definitely being the face to understand the business needs, and then go back to the admin team and debrief meetings, let them know what the business is looking for. And then, yes, Alex is very much on the operational side and admin side. We both do come with like the new ideas in terms of, when it comes to tech and new things in the industry, ideas we have, we both bounce ideas off of each other. Like, is it worth bringing it up to them? Maybe not right now, maybe later. But yeah, so we're both on the forefront.
Mona, she's already been through it, and pretty much is up and running on her own. She's already building a nice book of business, getting referrals that are, pretty high-level referrals from high-level advisors, which is exactly what we really like to work with. We try to have a family office type scenario with our clients, and it's very, very important to us. Referrals are pretty much the 90% of the bulk of our business. So
I also think from a financial perspective of fair treatment, you have been very open with how that would look like if something were to happen to you yesterday. In regards to like the life insurance policies and the valuation of the business. And I think that's also something that is evolving with the amount of time Alex and I both have put into Apex. But when it comes to, if something were to happen, I think you've already come up with a plan of how to divvy up the assets.
But I've always found that people don't like to talk about their mortality, right? So,
like I said, the second day they should be telling you how their exit. It's the same way. Every time a client comes in here, and I always do this during tax season, I say, when's the last time you updated your will? I use that, you got hit by a bus when you walk out of here scenario.
Yeah.
Is everything going to flow exactly the way you want it? And I will share, and I hope, Mara, you agree, and you too, Rudy, that no child is waiting for their parent to die to get money, but every parent wants to be fair to their child.
No,
and in a lot of cases, and I'm sure that you've done it well, is that you've disclosed to your children how it's going to work so that there is no surprise, and it's not like you have to go, in the movies, you have to go sit in the lawyer's office and have a reading of the will to figure out what mom and dad left us.
No, I mean, currently we've separated it where if I put ownership of the business into Alex's and Mada's name, that the life insurance beneficiary designations are going to change until we have some kind of a balance.
So are you eventually then going to put a value on Apex?
Yeah, certainly.
So we think Apex, I'm picking it up, we think Apex is worth $1 million. So if I give them 50% ownership, then I have to adjust the life insurance to make up the $500,000.
That's where it started. And the one way to start the topic with myself even included is if you talk about dying in the future, everybody closes up and they put up a wall. But if you said, hey, if you didn't come home yesterday, and they already know they came home yesterday, so it's like an easier start to the conversation. But in that situation, it just allows like a freedom of discussion.
It sounds to me like you've done what I would recommend to everybody, is make sure that you disclose. Shouldn't be a secret. Like,
Yeah.
I'll say in my family, I don't know if this is in your family,
Yeah.
we tend to do our will or update our will every time my wife and I travel on a trip. So we actually have to plan a trip in order to do our will. So we're going, my wife always says, well, we're on a plane together. What happens if something happens? So we have not traveled a lot lately, but we're going on a trip in November for our anniversary. And guess what?
Bring the bag.
We went through our will with our estate
Nice.
person, and we made a minor adjustment, and we made sure we called our children and told them what we did and why we did, and reminded them who the executor was, and or trustee if there was a trust involved, and whatever. And I think that, would you recommend the same kind of just?
I think not only the disclosure, but the updating on a regular basis. There are so many times when there are absolutely no beneficiary designations, and there's a life insurance benefit, and we're trying to chase who's in accordance to get that benefit, and it a lot of times has to go to orphans court in order to be settled. And so trustees on trusts, people that have, I mean, I can't tell you, they no longer talk to the person, or it used to be an ex-wife, and we've even had ex-wives getting, and ex-husbands getting death benefits, that things were just overlooked. So I think the overall continually evaluate, if not on a yearly basis, every other year.
If you die today, what is everything going to happen the way you want? And to the extent that it went to
Yeah.
an ex that you didn't want to, then
Yeah.
you didn't have yourself set up well.
Correct.
Right. I also want to share, like, obviously we mentioned at the beginning, we work with you guys, both our HR company and Zinman and Company,
Yeah.
and we value our relationship with you because you guys, the worst thing that could ever happen in any business, yours as well, is that you would recommend someone and then you get a phone call like, that Mara, that Rudy, what did you, and that Mark, that Monica,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
and that never happens with you guys. And
Right,
and
appreciate
that's
that.
a testament to the type of operation you have, and the fact that you can be part of the team that we want to bring into our clients, and maybe occasionally if it fits, we're part of the team that you bring into your clients. And
Yeah.
Every business owner needs to have advisors who give them all of the choices and don't argue with each other, but to the extent they disagree with each other, explain their positions so that that client always has the most knowledge to be able to make the best decision for their situation.
I think getting both sides of the story from everyone is knowing where you sit. You can pull a little bit this way, pull a little bit of that way. So yeah, absolutely.
Back to selling. So I just want to bring up a couple things before we conclude here.
Sure.
So in your business, the value of the type of business you're in is a multiple is a multiple of your book of business or your commissions or your sales, I guess.
It's a lot of it.
Yeah,
Yep. Nice.
And that's a lot of businesses are like, my business sells for. So just explain to our audience how businesses are valued. They can be valued by gross revenue.
Yep.
A lot of businesses are valued by what's called free cash flow. In the Fortune 500 world, it's called EBITDA, which is
Yeah.
income before income tax and depreciation and amortization. That word's thrown around way too much because there's no such thing as EBITDA in a cash basis business, which is 99% of our small businesses. But basically what ends up happening is business can be valued in sales, and business also could be valued by taking the net profit of the business and adding back what we call seller discretionary expenses, things that if you want to turn the business into the value of the business if it was run by an investor, not by some, right. So what's a fair salary for the person that's running it? What's a fair rent? What would you be giving them a Cadillac, or would you give them a Chevy if they needed a car? So you normalize that, and then a multiple of that seller discretionary that cash flow is also a way to value business.
Yeah.
So I mean you valued your business in a way that is typical. Also to share with the audience, like there are really two types of sales. There's an asset sale and a stock sale. I would say that in a situation like yours, you're sort of like, because it's going to be an earn-out, it sounds to me like you're going to be awarding her stock as her sweat equity in exchange for a compensation that's fair, as opposed to her having to actually buy stock.
Right.
And that's very frequent in related party things, because in your business, there's known liabilities and unknown liabilities. Like maybe you somehow did a client wrong and they come back a year from now and sue. Right or wrong, you have to defend yourself. So When it's an unrelated party, we mostly see asset sales, where they sell the assets and they bring them into another company. Where we have something like you, a family member, it's usually like, what you'll end up doing is, you won't be selling Mara stock, you'll be issuing more stock.
Like an ESOP or a...
Well, but so from a tax point of view, if you say, I have 100 shares of Apex, I'm selling you 50, then she has to pay you the fair market value and you have to pick it up. But if you issue another 100 shares to Mara, then you have 100 and she has 100.
Yeah.
There's not necessarily a tax consequence.
Right.
So I just want to bring it up to the audience.
With a stock purchase, I mean, understandably, that if you don't know the company, you'd want the asset sale. I think I would too.
The only time we see a stock sale
Yeah.
outside of a family is when there are contracts that are tied to the business.
Okay.
Like if this, let's say it was a medical business and all the Medicare numbers and stuff, that would be something. But then there's a lot of reps and warranties that would be put in. It makes the contract about 50 pages longer than
It would make it a lot more complicated in our type of situation too, because with an asset sale, you may be losing licensing agreements and different contracts with vendors, and everything needs to be redeeded and everything else, where in the stock ownership with a family, anyway, at least with my family, there's a certain amount of trust, not only that I have, but also that the kids have, of knowing that the clients are stable, that we didn't, make any numbers up. They already understand the workflow. They understand pretty much and know clients themselves and the relationships. But what's happening is Mara continues to build up her book. She's going to less rely on me having my clients, because her own book is getting, larger. So.
But I also think structuring it this way, it takes away there's already an emotional stress with all of a sudden being in that leadership role, but it takes away the financial stress.
It probably even worse than responsibility because it's your dad and mom.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So before we conclude, Monica, we had a list of stuff to talk about. Did I miss any major topics that we wanted to talk about with Rudy and Mara?
No, I think all three of you covered a lot of what we wanted to speak about, and I just will, interestingly, ESOPs is one of our upcoming episodes, so thank you for bringing that up.
Perfect.
Wow,
Yeah.
we didn't even tell them that ahead of time. Well, before we conclude, any final words? Mara, I'll start with you. Anything you want that we didn't talk about that you want to bring up or say?
I mean, we definitely covered a lot of the basis of what it will look like stepping into the role that Rudy and Ingrid have had. Alex and I are excited for the future. We've joked a lot. I think I've had conversations with people of like, oh yeah, I plan to, be the owner within 5 to 10 years, and then I come back, he's like, I'm never leaving. I'm like, well, okay. But it's an evolving conversation, and things may change down the road, but I think communication is key, especially with Alex and I figuring out what our strengths are, and we do have those conversations, like, do you want to be doing this type of role, or do you want me to handle this? Because we both have our strengths and weaknesses. So not only when taking over Rudy and Ingrid's role, it's also figuring out what we want to take over in the agency.
How about Rudy? Anything else you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, I am absolutely thrilled that my kids were interested. They push us. So they pushed us many years ago, prior to COVID, on getting everything electronic. Thankfully, we did. We were so way ahead of the game when COVID hit that we were able to do everything electronically, and it really saved us. So then that was a push. And Mata keeps bringing in new products that she wants us to have on the menu, and vendors that we should talk to, and it really it gives us a push. So I'm very, very thankful to have the setup that I have. I consider myself very lucky overall, and I appreciate the invitation to come and talk with you.
Well, I'll just say for myself, I mean, this has been fascinating, and I really appreciate the fact that you guys were willing to come in and share your story and maybe share some personal information, and it's wonderful. And I can highly recommend, if somebody's in the market for a benefits consultant, that you guys are just wonderful, as you have been with us and our clients. And Monica, why don't you take us out?
As it relates to succession planning, Rudy, as I started working with Mara some time ago, I mean, how many times have I called? called you instead of Mara. It's been 0 times. And it's really just a testament of, in our business, when we're providing professional business services to our clients and we need to get to an answer, we might say to ourselves or to our subordinate, call this person, that they're the one that's going to give us the quick and efficient answer. Just maybe skip a level, do what you got to do to get the right answer from the right person in a timely fashion. And so sometimes you are calling the previous generation of ownership in a family-owned business, and testament to your organization, I have not once, as patient and professional and as amazing as you are in your space, I've never felt compelled to call you instead of Mara. So it really speaks to the training that you have provided, your aptitude to work in this space, and your very customer and client-centric position. To that end, before we leave today, do you want to just share your phone number, your website, just a little bit of contact information if someone would be interested in reaching out to you?
Sure, yeah. So our office line is 215-795-0509. Our main general mailbox that we all see is service@apexbenefitgroup.com, and you can check us out at www.apexbenefitgroup.com.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we want to thank you both so much for coming in today and sharing all your knowledge and your experiences with us. We would invite everyone to let us know their thoughts down below and subscribe to the channel to see future episodes, including the one on ESOPs. And we hope that everyone enjoys the rest of their day, and we will see you next Wednesday. All content provided on this podcast is for informational purposes only. No representations are made as to the accuracy or completeness of information that is presented. On the Mark, its owners, collaborators, and guests will not be liable for any errors or omissions, nor for any losses, injuries, or damages from the use of this information.